Hello everyone, I'm Koda and welcome back to my channel. Now first things first, if you saw my last video, I said I was going to be revealing the musical reference for my stands. So if you haven't seen my last video, I suggest you go check it out, especially like the anime JoJo Bizarre Adventures. Before we get into that, I would like to mention something about the coronavirus. Now, I don't know much about this, so I can't really explain it as best I can because as I'm not really that smart, to be honest. But if you want to learn a little bit more about it, check out Dr. Mike, The Truth About the Coronavirus. He's a good YouTuber. He's a real doctor, and he talks a lot about medical stuff, and he's the best you can trust about this kind of stuff. So if you're wondering more about the coronavirus, want to learn a little bit more, check out his channel. Thank you. And with that, let's get to the stands. Okay, to recap, there are a total of 5 stands, and depending on your score is the one you get. If you got less than 100, then you would have gotten radioactive child. Sorry, I have trouble speaking sometimes. Sometimes. If you got below 100, you would have gotten radioactive child, and its musical reference is Radioactive by Imagine Dragons. Alright, next up, if you had gotten 100 through 150, then you would have gotten the stand Toxic Trip, and its musical reference is to Closer Further by Toxic Emotion. Okay, third stand up is through 160 through 190, and you would have gotten Lucky Jack, and its musical reference is Sorry Jack by Scratch 21. Next up, we have 200 to 230. You would have gotten Happy Face, and its musical reference is Happier by Marshmello. And finally, if you had gotten 240 through 280, your stand would have been Night's Run, and its musical reference is Running All Night by Zayd Wolf. Alright, now that we've got that out of the way, for this video I'd like to talk to you guys about some of my first favorite PlayStation experiences. Now, PlayStation has been part of my family a lot. We all love it, and in fact, PlayStation 1 was the first game I ever played. I cannot remember what game it was. It's been so long. I was so little. The only two things I definitely remember is one, back then the controllers weren't rechargeable and they didn't need batteries. You actually had to connect them to the system, and they had to stay like that if you wanted to play. And the reason why that's important to mention is because my sisters would sometimes switch the controls on me, and when I wasn't looking, and it would make me mad. I was a little kid. They just wanted to mess with me. When I was that age, I never fully understand why people would do that. But after a while, I grew up, met some other kids, and now I can understand at least half the reason they would do that. The second thing I remember from that game is that I was actually able to beat it before they could. And that hurt more because I was the baby in the family. I was 6, maybe 7, and it took them, I guess, a few days, but it took me a few minutes to crack on my own just by watching them play a couple times, maybe once or twice. Alright, now fast forward to PlayStation 2 era. Now, most of those games I remember, again, I say most of them. One particular game I remember most was this game called Spyro. Now, for those of you who don't know who Spyro is, basically he's a video game character of a purple dragon. And he goes along these adventures along with his adoptive brother Flit, who's a dragonfly, saving the world. This released multiple games. One of Spyro's most recent games is this video game called Skylanders. For those of you who do not know what Skylanders is, it's this really cool game where you play as multiple characters, but instead of you choosing or unlocking them on the game, you actually go to a store and buy these little statues, figurines of them, and then you place them on this, I guess you can call it a portal, and then you can play them on the game. And one of the statues that you get when you first buy the game, the original, was Spyro. But that one's on PlayStation 3 and then eventually got on to 4. What I'm talking about is the games that are on PlayStation 2. Now, there were a couple of Spyro games that I played. All of them were good. There was one in particular that I remember. I cannot remember its exact name, but the reason why this one is so important to me is because it's the one game that we never actually managed to finish till this day. Right now, that we have gotten to the closest we ever gotten to was the last stage just before the final boss fight, and that's it. Now, to fully understand this story, there's two things you need to know. One, this game wasn't exactly ours. It was a rented game from this really old store called Movie Gallery. Now, for those of you who don't know what a movie gallery is, well, then clearly you've never lived in a world without a red box. Now, Movie Gallery was a store that you go to rent movies and video games, and they did not cost $1 a day. They cost $5 to $7 to 3 to 5 days, plus late fees if any. That was our case with the Spyro game and a lot of other games, to be honest. Okay, now the second thing you need to know is, uh, back then, PlayStations didn't. If you never had a PlayStation 2 before, they didn't always have the memories built into the system. Instead, they came into these little cartridges called memory cards. They were no bigger than a Tic Tac box, and you would plug them into your game system, and that's how you would save up your games and how you would. Well, yeah, basically that's it. Save your game. That's it. And at the time, we didn't have ours. We kind of lost ours, and they were kind of difficult to find that time. We didn't have a GameStop in our town. The only gaming store, the closest thing we had to a gaming store was a Walmart, and they didn't have much at all. Okay, now that you have the basic idea of what happened, let me explain what really tripped us up on the last time we had that game. So, like I said before, it was just before the final boss fight. Now, in order for me to beat this level, I had to fight a bunch of monkeys or baboons. I'm not sure what they were, but let's call them baboons for now. Um, I fought them all, and one other thing you need to know about Spyro in this game, he didn't always breathe fire. He also had the ability to control earth and lightning, and finally ice. Now, normally that would sound really cool until we got to the final baboon. See, what happened was I had him on ice breath. I froze the last baboon, and usually they just poof, and that's it. But I guess the game decided to glitch out on me in the last minute, and the baboon froze in place. I used everything else. I used fire, lightning, rock. Nothing was hurting this baboon. And the reason why I needed him to go poof is because the only way for me to move forward, well, was for him to go poof. And we had reached the final level. We weren't looking forward to starting over. It was the last day. Otherwise, we would have to pay a really long latency fee. So we put up the game, took it back to Movie Gallery, and never picked it up again after that. Of course, later on, my sister got the game, but she was in another city at that time. She never finished it, at least not that I know of. She did. I think she did try to give it to me, but no one knows what happened to it after that. And since this day, I never had that game, and I've been trying to finish it ever since, and find it as well. Of course, I got a few other PlayStation 2 stories, but I'm gonna save those for another time. For now on, let's move on to PlayStation 3. Now, my first ever PlayStation 3 I got on Christmas. I cannot remember what year, but I do remember my first ever video game of PlayStation 3. That is Resistance 3. Now, I haven't played Resistance 1 or 2, and if you guys haven't heard of Resistance at all, the best I can only give you the description of Resistance 3. Okay, I was never fully aware of what this game was because it was both. I think it was an alien game or a zombie game or a mixture of the two. I was never really clear on which. All I know is it was apocalypse. You were fighting these advanced alien race with zombie spores and stuff like that. There was a whole bunch of different things, but it looked mostly like aliens. And in this game, you had to fight all these really powerful monsters. One of which was this gigantic gorilla that you have to fight in a room and shoot its armor off, which is really difficult because if it can get you into a corner, and every time you try to run away, it knocks you right back into the corner. That was very hard to get past. And also in the game, they gave you these really awesome weapons. My two personal favorites is this one gun that allows you to see and shoot through walls. That was really fun. And my number one favorite is this 6 round revolver with the remote detonator, where you fire the bullets, it gets sticks onto your opponent, and then you can press the detonator and boom. It came in real handy in a lot of tight corners. The story mode was pretty interesting. Your main character is a guy who has just started his family, and now he's has a chance to finish off the aliens, or zombies, whatever you want to call them, and drive them away. But the only problem is he struggles with to choosing between seeing this through to the end or going back to protect his family, and it has a really good ending. I recommend you try it. All right, now let's fast forward all the way to PlayStation 4. Now, this one holds a lot more to me because it's the first ever gaming system I ever bought with my own money. I'm sure a lot of y'all can appreciate that sort of thing, the feeling you get when you buy something with your own money from your own job, from your own hard work. And the game I bought with it was Dragonball Xenoverse. Now, when I got this gaming system and the game, it was with my mom, and we were out visiting family out of town. And now that's a whole other story on its own. I'll get to that some other time. But right now, let me tell you what happened when I bought the game. Now, see, what had happened is me and my mom were at one of my family members' house. My mom and them were talking it out. Me, I was somewhere else. I don't really connect well with people unless I have something in common with them. And me and my family don't always have stuff in common. Not consistently, at least. The only person I can say, honestly, in my family who I have anything in common with close enough, I mean, without a doubt, in common with is my big sister, my oldest sister. And I'll get to her another time in another video. So my mom and our family were talking it out and discussing about eventually going to the mall. Now I of course was very interested in that, mostly because my phone and my DS both needed charging because I played them the whole way there. It was a long car trip, and so eventually, yeah, we all got in the car, went to the mall, and when we got there, hey, my mom said, "Hey, we got some time to kill. You can go off and look around and maybe get yourself something." So I went around, and in this mall they had a Best Buy, and I went into the Best Buy looking around, and I saw that they had a PlayStation 4 and a whole bunch of games ready for sale and all that stuff. So I look at my wallet. I realized I don't have much, so I went to the ATM, took out the money, and then went to go get the game. When I came back and saw my mom, she was surprised that I had gotten a PlayStation 4. She was picturing something small, like a movie or something, but not a whole game system. And it was so funny to see her face when she saw the gaming system in my hand. So eventually, we got back into the car, headed home, and I couldn't wait. I was too excited to play the game. I didn't even leave it in the car. I just held it with me the entire time. Eventually, my family let me plug it into the TV and play the game there. I was so excited, and mom was smiling the whole time because she kept on. I think it was funny that I bought a whole gaming system as kind of like a souvenir from an out of town visit. You know, nobody really ever does that kind of thing. But really, I wouldn't. I was gonna wait for that. I was gonna wait for the game. I had the money. I wasn't gonna wait to go all the way back to town. And because in my town, like I said before, the closest thing we had to a gaming store was a Walmart, and they didn't always have much. They only had like one case of games, and that's it. And there was no PlayStation 2s, 3 systems, nothing. You had to go out of town for that kind of stuff. And well, we were already out of town, so I did, and that's what I got. I know that doesn't tell you much about the game itself, but I gotta say, I really do love the game, Dragon Ball Xenoverse. I really love any kind of game where the main story is also the customized character story, where you get to create your own character, feel more a part of the show, video games, enemies, whatever. You feel more a part of the stuff that gives you joy every day. That's why I love those kinds of games where you can create your own character and play along in the main story mode. All right, that's all I got for y'all for today. I want to thank you guys for joining me here. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and like I said before, if you want to learn a little bit more about the coronavirus, I cannot explain it myself, but I can recommend you to a good YouTuber who's actually a real doctor. His name is Dr. Mike. I've seen his YouTube channel a lot. I've seen a lot of a couple of his shows. He's really good, and he can explain a little bit more about the coronavirus. He's trying to keep you guys up to date as much as he can. So I'm gonna leave a link down below in the description so you can find his channel a little bit easier. Um, Also, if you guys not have seen my last video, I suggest you check it out. It's pretty cool. And again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and also, if you guys know anybody who would like this kind of video, please send them a link. Uh, that's it. Thanks for joining me. See ya.